We are flipping the pyramid. Flipping the pyramid.
Well, good evening and welcome along. Got here at last. Sorry about the lateness of my show. Had a little bit of difficulty there with the connection tonight. Not sure what was going on. The ports have changed or something on there and I wasn't aware, so I've typed in the new ones and hooray, I'm on air. Thank goodness for that. Welcome along everybody. It's the reality check with Bluebus once again on Flipping the Pyramid Monday evening. It's it's gone 8:30 now, so but I will do my hour and a bit, whatever. So I will honour my presence or whatever, my contract or whatever it may be. But I want to speak anyway. I've got lots to talk about. I was getting frustrated there before because I had everything lined up and had to reboot and start again, and so it's a bit of a fluster. But yeah, what a week have we had again. My God. It just keeps getting more and more intense as time goes on with everything that's occurring at the moment. A couple of things that happened this week which caught my eye was the mainstream media, apparently by a poll by Gallup, are now not as popular as they used to be, according to the latest figures from Gallup. Mainstream media popularity is dwindling fast. And no surprise considering all the crap and the nonsense they keep putting on and endless repeats, etc. If you do watch TV, if you do happen to find yourself sitting in front of it, most of the time, I'd say 99.999% of the time, it's complete crap. But there is the odd little thing there which you can check out. I know Keenan was talking about Paradigm Shift TV and Controversial TV in his show on Sunday. And they're definitely worth checking out. Some of the programs some could be a bit iffy, but there's some good stuff on there if you check them out. About the only sort of channel, if I do find myself sitting in front of a TV with nobody around, I'm generally around someone's house. If they got Sky, I'll flick to that channel and just see what's happening on that scale of things. But yeah, so the popularity is dwindling with our mainstream. So it just goes on. Also been seeing lots of stories for some bizarre reason. I just thought I'd mention this. I'm not going to go into the ins and outs of this, but lots of stories appearing about antidepressants at the moment. I don't know if the effectiveness of the drug itself has been brought into question by quite a lot of little stories I seem to be sort of finding in the press and stuff and around, and also in the alternative media as well. There seems to be quite a lot of stories regarding antidepressants, and like I say, the pharmaceutical industry, the spotlight firmly on them again. And like I say, interesting that seems to have become a popular sort of topic in the last 7 days. Also, lots of the UFO thing is still about. There's lots of things getting flung at us. I'll get into a couple of silly stories later on, but yeah, that's also still there, and I'm seeing lots of things in the mainstream and also in alternative media. There seems to be an awful lot of interest, and people seem to be, obviously with the misinformation that's about, etc. It's it's a cause for like interest, so to speak. Why suddenly this sort of interest is, with the 2012 thing, etc. We all know it's all kicking off, and as we approach with the Olympics as well, which is only now a few weeks away, and we see the usual stories building up from that. And also, I did see they were going to be prepared now to use lethal force if you're caught in the no-fly zone, according to reports coming out of, I think it was BBC, I did see, and also coming out of most of other news agencies. It says Britain's military air force has warned pilots that their planes will be shot down and a show of lethal force if they breach no-fly rules over London. It says with security tightening 2 weeks before the London Olympics, Britain's Air Force is to be on standby as from Saturday the 14th of July to fire any unrecognised aircrafts that fly over London. So that was 2 days ago, 16th now, of course. It says on Friday the 13th, yes, Friday the 13th, Britain's Royal Air Force issued a warning that any plane which strays into the protected zone could be shot down. And yes, I is kind of alarmed by that slightly. I don't know why, but I think it's just, I suppose if you happen to be in a helicopter or a small plane and you happen to be flying around the area, you have to give your position, etc. But just the very fact that just something mad happens where there's someone inadvertently does happen to fly into that zone, well, they'll be shot out of the sky. And the amount of build-up that's been happening, as we've seen with this security farce that's been in the news as well the last few days regarding GP4S or whatever they're called. I think they used to be called Securicore, I think, at one time. I think they've changed their name and rebranded, but they're a bit of a joke back then, if I remember. But anyway, they've managed to completely screw up the figures and security and etc. And the contract that they've been getting is estimated, I think it was something like £50 million or something of that region. So that's been all out there. They're creating as much sort of, stories they can, either negative or positive. Not many positive ones, I have to say, mainly negative, but, it's everywhere. Olympic just overkill, which we did say this at the turn of the year, and we've been saying it for, like I say, even last year, that as this date approaches, there'll be more and more and more ramping up of this hysteria. And as we see it each day, there's more and more stories coming out regarding, various scams of money and costs and etc., etc. But the fact of the matter is, the whole games is just, it's sucked the. What does it cost us, the taxpayer, or whatever it is? It's 10 billion or whatever it is. They seem to find money so quickly for these kinds of things, and other people who are suffering austerity or having their benefits cut, or finding it a struggle to just keep up living, are suffering the most. And as we see with the benefits, like I say, the cuts they're trying to bring in, they're trying to memes test everybody, and we're seeing that happening more and more. They want people off. They want to, completely, cut people off from any benefit at all if they can get away with it, and they don't care. And they bring in, like I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, a French firm called Atos, who, their CEO, gets a bonus of whatever it is. I think it was a few million quid for implementing these changes to try and weed out people who don't deserve benefits. It's hypocrisy at its highest. It's unbelievable. And like I say, many personal stories I know myself of people who have been struggling and having their benefits cut or stopped for a while while they do investigations. But find £10 billion for the Olympic Games, no problem at all. There you go, straight for you. So the whole thing really, and the like I've said before, the hypocrisy of the advertising and the corporate sponsors of the games, the whole thing. I mean, it's, you've been caught, McDonald's and Coca-Cola, for goodness sake, say no more. The hypocrisy is just there. And anyways, it's things that have just been happening in the news, like I say, things I've been seeing these last few days. But one particular story I did see today as I was preparing for the show. Don't get much time when I get in sometimes, so I'm sort of rushing around, and I was sort of mentioning this a few weeks ago regarding surveillance. Big Brother Australia looking to monitor full spectrum communication, so they're going to roll something out in Australia to sort of test the waters, whatever. It says the most expansive set of surveillance powers since the attacks of 2001 are set to be rolled out in Australia unless there is overwhelming public resistance. It says the new proposals are being issued by the intelligence community itself and involve collecting data on every Australian's telephone conversations and internet usage, then storing it for 2 years. It says, in tandem with data collection and storage, Australia's intelligence community wants more access to social media and a sweeping overhaul to current restrictions that is reminiscent of America's move under its own comprehensive media monitoring initiative. It says, subject of data retention is being hotly debated by governments around the world, as the respective intelligence agencies are claiming that they need the freedom to keep up with the latest technologies such as cloud computing, social media applications and internet communications apps. It says there are currently at least 10 locations around the world that have proposed data collection and retention initiatives, while Germany, Italy, Denmark, the UK, Slovakia and Serbia have officially implemented programs that include, but are not limited to, it says here, tracing and identifying the source, destination, duration of communication, identifying the type of communication, the communication device, the mobile communication equipment used, retaining collected data for 6 months to 2 years, voluntary retention by ISPs, landline and mobile phone providers, storing subscriber details, storing customer account numbers, recording content, identifying location of a mobile phone, remotely activating built-in microphone systems, retaining email data and web activity, retaining physical mail including online tracking of postal items, even special delivery items, retaining banking data for an extended period of time, and recording vehicle movement data with license plate recognition cameras. So this has all sort of been rolled out in a kind of, we've seen over here in the UK similar stories, similar sort of things coming out to say, they're going to be, databasing everything. We say this time and time again, but it looks like they're really sort of rolling this out in a big way. It says government infiltration or cooperation with private companies forms the very definition of fascism, which has civil liberties advocates rightly concerned. Furthermore, many of these initiatives include proposals to force private companies to retain data for later inspection, thus fitting the definition full-blown tyranny, says here. It says even though, just as in the United States and elsewhere, some companies already have been voluntarily storing and sharing information with their own government, as well as colluding with authoritarian regimes in places like Belarus, Uzbekistan, Azerbaijan, Tajikistan, Georgia and Kazakhstan. It says these corporate mercenaries have become available to the highest bidder, yet it is far worse for supposed leaders of the free Western world to overwrite their very own laws and permit such blatant privacy invasions. Entrenched constitutional protections have been scrapped across the world in the wake of September 11th and all subsequent fear-mongering, false flags and threats of potential terror, it says here. But I mean, the story, it does go on, but the whole point of this is, it's becoming more and more sort of mainstream, if you like, more and more evident, and we've seen many news stories in our, tabloid press, etc., which is saying that this sort of this is going on, basically. This has been carried out and it's been done, whether we like it or not. But as we've always said, they've always monitored it anyway. They're just making it a public sort of, get people fearful. Bring up that, oh, I'm being watched, and possibly, create a sort of paranoia on the web. Again, it works at all different angles. The very fact that someone's just listening to your call is enough for people to become fearful, become the whole thing really. And then you got the other example of people who don't care, they just use it, don't care, don't question it, couldn't give a monkey's who's listened to their conversation. And they're unfortunately maybe a bit of a majority, because those sorts of people are the ones that need to say, well, hang on a sec, I don't want this. I'm unfortunately people like us are in a sort of, if you like, a bit of a minority, because if I ever mention this to anybody, I do get that reaction. I don't care who listens to me. I've got nothing to hide. It's the same old, I've got nothing to hide. But at the same time, freedoms are being taken away. We're being completely, again, locked down in sort of our homes, or, we're just being surrounded by all of this, like safety. They call it safety. It's like we need to watch you. We need to keep a handle on you. We need to make sure there's nobody bad, and if there is anybody bad, we'll go and catch them. It's all this kind of angle that they come from. But at the same time, people are quite willingly giving their information away anyway on social network sites as well. So it's the kind of the way people are at the moment. They're just quite happily, they don't care, but at the same time they're giving away an awful lot of their freedom, and they don't even know it's happening. It's time to get aware of this and become more, if you like, observant. Especially, as I've said in the past, with all sorts of applications you can add to your mobile phones now, which have all sorts of hidden little, if you like, not secrets as such, but little things they can do if you agree to them. They like I say with Facebook, if you're happy for Facebook to look at your SMS messaging in your emails and your texting on your phone, then you've just signed up for the app. That's what you've agreed to. They just haven't decided to switch it on yet. But if they did want to look at that, they could. So, this is what we're sort of agreeing to. And it's crazy. It's absolutely mental. But, we're stuck in this kind of what's called information age, and people are just quite happily just, if you like, it's so easy now to, find out about anybody if you want. We've seen this many times with news stories. First thing that they write about if somebody's done something they shouldn't have done, or maybe they're a dodgy banker or something, and they can get their information in the paper, and it's all from Facebook, it's all from social sites, pictures and everything, the whole shaboodle. It's all there, your whole life on the internet. And again, if that's what you like to do, that's fine, but just be careful. It's they even know where you're going to turn up. You've filled in your calendar. You've used all the apps. You're so up with everything. Look where I am today. With all sorts of stuff going on with the technology that they have now. They know where you are at any moment, at any time on the planet, if you have, say, a mobile phone. So it's a tracking device. It's pure and simple, but it's how far you want to sort of, if you like, buy into them knowing everything about you. So it's a tricky one, because we all want to keep in touch. We all want to have a phone. So myself, I own one. I want to keep in touch, and it's a handy device, but it comes at a price, unfortunately. And it's how much willing you are to sort of, if you like, give away all of your access to everything, just at the drop of a hat on a free application, for instance. Nothing's free. You pay for everything in some way, shape or form. There's an old saying, there's no such thing as a free lunch. That's what they used to say to me when I used to work in London, and they were very true. Nothing is free. If it's a corporation involved, nothing is free. Ever, 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 ever. There's a price to pay somewhere along the line. Anyways, I'm going off track here, but yeah, so that was a story that came out today, which I sort of an article from the Activist Post by a guy called Nicholas West. So an interesting sort of, if you like, just coming together of the information. That's why I like the Activist Post sometimes, because it does sort of collate a lot of things together. I don't have time to do it myself sometimes, so we can put it in sort of one little area. But yeah, just an interesting, again, evidence of what they're actually up to, and continuing to increase their, if you like, surveillance upon society, the paranoia of it all. So yeah, interesting. So moving on though, I did want to sort of have a look at this as well. So I'm a bit disorganised because I had me little delay and I lost all me bookmarks, but I'm in control just about. This yeah, it sort of gets on a similar thing, this cashless society, which is something that we're being, again, it's just, I've mentioned it before, but I think it's important that this removal of cash from your pocket, so to speak, and just left with bits of plastic or biometrics or whatever it may be. And this cashless society is, and this won't load for some reason. Come on, load. And it's basically, again, just going through the fact that we're just stuck in this. Again, the technology's there. They introduce it to us, and they say this is going to benefit you, etc., etc. And what do we end up doing? We end up using it, of course, and we end up thinking, oh yes, it is. It does me some good, and that says it's unavailable. So the server's gone down on there, but never mind. But I'll try it again, because I'm determined to. You've been waiting half an hour for me, so you can wait 10 seconds for me to do this. Right, there we go. Come on, there we go. Facebook this was. That's why the connection was there, and I couldn't think, because I booked it earlier on. But what it was this, I couldn't believe this. It was Facebook are introducing ways to do banking through them, if you like, accessing applications within Facebook to access your bank details, etc. It says, if current methods of evaporating privacy and pushing a world toward the cashless society, sorry, we're not moving fast enough. It says Facebook is now developing and beta testing an app, it says here, that would allow users to pay their utility bills, balance their checkbooks, and transfer money at the same time they upload vacation photos to the site for friends to see. It says essentially the new application, which is currently in beta phase with the Commonwealth Bank of Australia, also allows for interactions regarding banking and financial services over alleged secure and private connections. It says a similar, albeit attenuated, program is already in existence in India, which has been created by the ICICI Bank in conjunction with Facebook, that allows users through a secure SSL connection to view account details and mini statements, as well as apply for debit cards and request checkbooks. Checkbooks? What are they? So see the ICICI Bank Facebook app demo video here, but obviously this is radio, so I'll post the link in a sec. It says, indeed, Keypoint Credit Union has also has its own Facebook app that allows for many of the same features. So basically, Facebook, as we know, is even the CEO, Mark Zuckerberg, has been very sort of open about the fact that, you know, privacy is something he doesn't even give a shit about, basically. He said it quite, doesn't believe in it, etc. And so he still, you know, and the people, this is how stupid and naive and daft everybody is sometimes, they're still going to use this thing. It says here, Facebook and the participants in this emerging app are assuring future customers that there is no need for concern regarding leakage of personal data. Now you've got to be having a laugh there. No leakage of personal data from Facebook. Now that's the biggest joke going. It says Commonwealth Bank, for instance, holds that it will not launch the program without 100% guarantee of security. With this in mind, given the track record as well as the open declarations of disregard for privacy by Facebook and its directors, would anyone in their right minds trust their online banking and financial information to the social networking giant? It says, unfortunately, the answer is likely to be a resounding yes. You see, this is it's like, you know, all the details, everything, even your bank stuff now, you know, people are just happy to, you know, give this information away. And judging by some of the status updates I see on Facebook when I do go on there, although I am getting very, very love and hate with this Facebook thing now. It's getting on my nerves a bit, if I'm being honest. I want to disconnect myself, but there are people that I must keep in touch with, and I'll have to do it another way. But it's convenient. You see, they're bastards. They get you drawn into it because it's easy, and it's you know, you can do all sorts of communication on there with your friends, etc. Swap ideas, numbers, whatever you want to do. Private, you know, it's easy, and that's what they do. That's how they suck us in. But me myself, I think to myself, am I going to keep this account or not anymore? But I do like to sort of use it as a sort of soundboard sometimes for bits and bobs. But I don't know. It's a love-hate relationship, so I could well do what I did with my YouTube account and just close it. But I'm still sort of thinking about that idea. But it says, anyway, it says, regardless of the stampede toward yet another privacy-destroying program, it says Anna Kasparian of the Young Turks accurately summed up some of the concerns regarding online banking privacy and the new Facebook app during a recent TYT broadcast. She said, and I'll tell you what my conspiracy theory is. Facebook makes money by selling ads, and the way that they sell ads is by telling the advertisers what their users are spending their money on. If they have the ability to see what you're spending your money on via, what's it say here, bill pay on their website, then they're going to sell that information to a third party, and then you're going to be like, what privacy? What are you talking about? It says Kasparian should give herself more credit. Her deductions are merely logic based on previous experience, that the historical behaviour of Facebook, and it's not conspiracy theories. It says, in keeping with the concerns regarding privacy, however, it is clear that these ridiculous apps will no doubt be able to be accessed via smartphones in addition to personal computers, and will therefore be subject to even more hacking possibilities. It says, indeed, the increasing number of apps and remote smartphone related programs dealing with personal finance, banking and payment information will undoubtedly produce an increase in the number of hacking and identity theft incidents. Thus the public that was so easily enticed to use these programs under the guise of convenience will be calling for an increased level of security to reduce the ability of hackers to access the data they freely offered online once their poorly thought out decisions come back to bite them. It says here, and this is what I've said, enter biometrics. And this is something that we're going to see more and more introduced now. It says the only sure way to protect against theft and hacking. It says, unfortunately, however, such concerns as those expressed by Kasparian are almost guaranteed to go unheeded. If they are even addressed by Facebook or the respective participating banking institutions, it will only be discussed as a public relations move designed to placate those on the fence and holdouts who will themselves be caught up in the dragnet in a matter of just a few years. It says, in the end, the new Facebook banking app is just one more step toward the ultimate goal of a cashless society, and the requirement that even the most personal individual information such as iris scans, fingerprints, vein scans, facial photographs and even DNA swabs be surrendered for the purpose of data security. Yeah, so it's scary stuff, really, and we see it being sort of brought in, like you say, with these apps on phones or social networking sites, and the possibility for hacking is high, very high. We see with just if normal online banking over the years has been subject to various attacks, passwords, people getting into other people's accounts. The stories going back, the last last 5 or 6 years. Since more and more people do online banking. I mean, nothing is totally secure online, believe you me. We've seen this many times. So by introducing this easy, if you like, let's hack your bank account type of, the thieves will be loving it. The guys who are out there, just trawling through, computer digits and that, and creaming the money over here somewhere. But and then there'll be a shout for, like you say, what are we going to do? How are we going to prevent this? And like you say, biometrics. It's all coming in, and these are ways that they get people to react. Problem, reaction, solution, if you like. Exactly the same thing. So it's another way of pushing forward more biometrics, and buying into this kind of machine, or also transhumanism type aspect of things. We could go down that path with the way that they are. Bringing machine and man closer together in more and more ways, and we just see that with basic the basic stuff that's been going on for years, cosmetic surgery, implants, getting people used to body enhancements, etc., etc., etc. Get it into people thinking that it's okay to put these things in your body to make you look more beautiful, etc. But it also has that darker side where we're now sort of seeing science come up with all sorts of nanotechnologies that can be injected into the body, and even report back medical conditions, etc. And all again promoted in a positive way. But at the same time, there's that darker side, that sort of reliance on it, that we can't survive without it. We see this with people with computers. How many people could survive without their computer for 5 days or something? We have this connection to a virtual world, and I know Cookie was talking about this a few weeks ago, and it's so true. We have a virtual connection to everything. Everything's done virtually now. And we were saying, and I remember he was saying about the banking system. It's very interesting, because when do you go to a bank now? You do it online, etc. So everything's done virtual, and we're becoming more and more drawn into this transhumanism kind of existence, and not even realizing it. So it's very interesting, very it's food for thought, and it just goes to show technology is good. It's there to help us, but it shouldn't completely rule us. This is why I had issues with this Venus project and this Zeitgeist stuff a few years ago, where I thought computers ruling the world. It wasn't really my kind of idea of a world I want to live in, really, where I want to make my own decisions, etc. And yeah, machines and technology can help you, but it shouldn't be the source of all of your, it shouldn't be thinking for you, put it that way. You should be thinking for yourself. Machines do the thinking for you, just creates the dumbed down society, really, we already kind of live in to a degree, because no one has to do any thinking anymore. There's good applications for that, but there's also very bad ones. So it's a question of balance here, and that's where we always find we come back to the balance, and that's where you've got to be vigilant and know that these things are being pushed out really for a a total control agenda, really, nothing more than that. And they're introducing it in various ways to, get people used to the ideas of, transhumanism and all that stuff. And it's a deep subject, but it's definitely worth thinking about, because just look at what's around us right now. And like I say, the ideas that they plant in your mind regarding, becoming one with another machine. It's almost like how we look at a car, isn't it? How people get obsessed with cars and the machine, the car, the speed, all this stuff. And it's a kind of, people have like a link, to that kind of, they think more of their car, for goodness sake, than they do of people sometimes. So there you go. That's an example of how machines can be more powerful than, in the mind, more useful than a person. And that's something we've got to sort of, like I say, get a balance back and, become more aware of this. But yeah, anyway, I'm yakking on. I want to play a tune, because I did have some tunes lined up, which I did have before. So I'll have a little break. I'll have a drink. It's blimey, it's gone 9 o'clock already. So I'll play some more music, and I'll be back in a sec. Let's see what I can play. Oh, yeah, there we go. Okay, see you in about 3 minutes.
We are flipping the pyramid. Flipping the pyramid.
Right, welcome back, and that was a bit of Logic. Picked the wrong track at first, sorry about that. But yeah, Logic and I Love it's called. And welcome back. It's the Reality Check. It's just gone 9 o'clock, Monday evening, 16th of July, 2012. Yeah, going to get into a couple of other little interesting items. One I saw today was about these bounty hunters apparently going to be unleashed on crooked bankers. I don't know if anyone saw this. It says Iceland has potentially set a new trend in the finance community. We all know. It says, according to Business Insider, their government has hired an ex-cop, a white-collar crime bounty hunter who wants to make sure the bankster criminals pay the price for their elaborate crimes. It says Iceland's government appointed someone called Olafur Hawksson to locate such individuals that had a helping hand in the collapse of the banking sector in a time of extreme credit crunching. It says Hawksson is responsible for investigating any and all suspicious cases involving fraud before 2009. And we all know with Iceland what happened and the subsequent sort of establishment of their new government, etc. They've pretty much sort of not much coming out in the mainstream. Obviously, they don't want people to sort of get wind of this kind of revolution almost going on there, where people have been well, they basically don't have to pay mortgages anymore, as far as I could understand. They'd wiped all that out, and they've got a lot more going on there than we certainly would have here in a million years, I think, the way our system is. But it says the good news for him is that he's not working alone. He's got 100 top-notch researchers rigorously working around the clock to help make this a smoother and quicker process. It says Mr. Hawksson expands on this notion, saying, on the other hand, we bring the lawsuits against the suspects to court ourselves. This technique is brand new stuff which allows the investigators to follow the case and the judicial system to know the cases like the back of their hand. This is undeniably advantageous in order to compete with the well-prepared defence attorneys. And it says, I don't think that fleeing the country warrants your safekeeping. It says Le Monde reporter Charlotte Shabas explains searches continue and the team pursues its investigations abroad in the foreign subsidiaries of the Icelandic banks and includes questioning foreigners. We enjoy full international cooperation, adds Hawksson. It says he has all his ducks in a row when it comes to this mission, and he's got some impressive convictions under his belt, meriting quite a bit of respect for the success he's experienced in his new job. He's even tracked down the former chief of staff of the country's finance minister and arrested him for insider trading. Why can't we do that over here? There'll be a load of them, wouldn't there? They'll all be queuing up. We wouldn't have anywhere to put them all. It says, while many criminals that have already been caught still await their sentencing, it says Hawksson is actively on the prowl to find more felons. With plenty of places to run but nowhere to hide, some big bankers are surely weak in the knees and stressed to the core. I doubt it, some of them. It says, who's to say other countries aren't already doing the same thing? Well, it's not happening here. It says, in order to crack down on the greed and fraudulence that led to the latest overwhelming economic collapse. Well, Iceland, like I say, are sort of on their own, and it's a shame that we can't just sort of have a similar thing here. I don't know. I mean, how do we do this? How do we get these guys all arrested and put in prison for their crimes? And we've seen the LIBOR rate being twisted and altered to suit their own needs, and creaming of billions, if not trillions of bloody pounds. Where's the arrests? I said this last week. Where are the arrests? None in the UK. Nothing. Fraud in the UK, apparently, if it's sanctioned by the government, is okay, because ultimately, what do we put our government in place to do what? To do the things we want it to do, and we know that's not the case, and they do what they want to do. We have no democracy. We never have. We just have the illusion of one, and I say this all the time. These governments are not working for us. Never have. Never will be. And the quicker we sort of get together and realise this en masse, we're never going to change anything, because it is by en masse thinking the same that we're ever going to change it. And until people start to not conform with the government in any shape or form en masse, then we'll see some changes. Then we will see people becoming in positions where they can administer, not control us. It's not about control. It's not about government. It's not about being under control. It's about administration, I think, of services and things we need, and everyone can self-manage themselves, if they're at the right, if they're balanced enough. But considering the mess they make of everybody's heads, and the way they're dumbed down, and all the other stuff that goes on, mental and physical, it's going to be a goddamned hard job, that's for sure. But as I've always said, the mainstream media is sort of key in the fact that they can get these Coronation Street watchers or the TV addicts sort of thinking, if they put something of truth out there, and started to wake people up to what's really going on. And we're not interested in game shows and crap like that. We're interested in the fact that people are being killed, bombed. We have Syria still kicking off. We've got Hillary Clinton warmongering again. All these things are going on, and we're not being given the full sort of picture and the full real, a good journalistic kind of breakdown of it. Like I've said before many times again, we don't see anybody of any journalistic quality in the mainstream. They're not allowed to be journalistic in that sense. They're dumbed down. If they step out of line, they are, very quickly shifted off. So we don't have any real analytical journalistic coverage in the mainstream. It's gone. I think at one time we may have had some, but we've seen the likes of John Pilger, I've mentioned many times, people like him, who aren't obviously welcome anymore, because they tell it how it is. And yeah, we don't want to be here being gloom and doom and death and destruction and war and bombs, but it's the reality. It's the reality we have to deal with, and if we don't deal with this, we're never going to be able to deal with anything, and that's the problem. It all starts with, let's stop killing each other. That's the main thing here. Let's just stop killing each other. It's very easy. I did see a quote the other day. Why bother? Put down your arms, stop fighting, and give your guns and your weapons to the rich people who seem to want to always have the war. Let them do the fighting. Are we stupid? It's the indoctrination. It's the conditioning. It all stems back. But people, soldiers are now realising, they're in the armed forces, and they're realising they're coming out, or they've suffered or whatever, and they've become to understand that what are they really fighting for? You're fighting for the Queen. Is it the Queen? You're fighting for the government? It's kind of shocking when you realise you've been fooled, and that's the problem. It's not about embarrassing people. It's not about being better or more knowledgeable, because it isn't about knowledge at all. It's about understanding inside what's right and what's wrong. It doesn't need to be written in a book. You just know it anyway. So this is what's happening. So people just have to learn to listen to themselves more and get in touch with themselves more. And if it doesn't feel right, well, don't do it then. Don't join the army just because you're bored. This is what they're doing. They're getting our young people so indoctrinated with, this mentality of this is how society works, and mixing it all up with the other stuff, and they've got perfect soldiers almost who are easily trained, and through various sorts of all sorts of programming techniques they use in the army, NLP, whatever it is, or all sorts of ways to break you down to your bare minimum, then build you up again in the form of somebody else. And that's how they do it. They break you down, build you up, and they do it in subtle more ways in society. It's like when they have terrorist attacks. It's a knocking down. It's a reality. This is what's happened, and what do you and all of the uproar. We've had the the 7/7 anniversary just gone. I know Keelan mentioned that in his show, and again, it's all of these things that they do to you to bring you into this state of fear, this state of control. It's very clever stuff, and you can go even more hyperdimensional if you want, and go all crazy and whatever. But there's all sorts of controls placed upon us, and most of them are so subtle you never see them. You don't see them. It's a very few people who do, and then those inform the others who are of wanting to know what the hell is going on, and then we become more aware. We become a group of people who are more aware, and this is what's happening. And I've said this, with more and more people becoming more aware, it's growing and growing, but it's not at that point yet where we can actually affect any real change of any kind. Like I say, mass non-compliance is a kind of way of doing it, but there's not enough people. It's like, come on, or people are too frightened. When are they going to lose the fear? When are they going to drop the fear? When are they going to be, prepared to say no sometimes, and stop saying yes all the time? Some people can't even do it in a relationship, so they've got no chance with government and how the world runs. It's like, my God. So there's a long way to go, but hopefully people will start to empower themselves. And this kind of, if you like, times we live in, it's very interesting indeed. And we are being bombarded continually by these stories and how we think, and it's all just basically it's being able to get some balance and to be able to realize you are in control. It's you. It's not them. It's not the government. It's not the bankers. It's not your work. It's not even your partner. It's you. You are in control, and everything else if everything's in balance and everything around you, because it's energy, the more you sort of understand things, if you meet people for the first time, I do if I meet people for the first time, I just pretty much know within seconds of this is the person's sort of they're okay, the balance they've got, I don't know everything but about somebody, but you pick up a good vibe initially is what I'm saying. And there's a few people around who do understand things, and it isn't always the people who speak out sometimes who have the most knowledge. It's the ones who maybe are just having a good old think about it over the years and then come out and say something, because we all need to speak out, and like I've always said, these are the platforms to do it. So anyways, I wanted to also mention the genius Nikola Tesla. He had his there's a lot of stuff in the news this week because it was his birthday, and he was born on July the 10th, so 6 days ago. Well, he wasn't born 6 days ago, but you know what I mean. July the 10th was 6 days ago, 1856. So how old would he be? Very old. But it says, just wanted to sort of go into this a little bit, because I think there's not enough, maybe not enough sort of understand of just how much this guy actually contributed to our society in the sense of power, electricity, etc. And 70 years after his death, it says here, Nikola Tesla is finally beginning to attract real attention and encourage serious debate nearly 70 years after his death. And was he for real? Was he a crackpot? Was he crazy, man? What's all these stories about this guy? Is he... I didn't know he invented electricity. I thought it was Thomas Edison. Wasn't it Thomas Edison? No, you're wrong. It wasn't Nikola Tesla. So there's lots of conflicting stuff. It says, we know that he was undoubtedly persecuted by the energy power brokers of his day. And this is like saying Thomas Edison, whom we were taught in school to revere as a genius. Yes, the education system working its best bullshit. he also attacked. He was also attacked by J.P. Morgan and other captains of industry. Upon Tesla's death on January the 7th, 1943, the U.S. government moved his lab and apartment, confiscating all of his scientific research, and to this day none of this research has been made public, although we do see evidence of it in things like the HARP and etc. and possibly microwave ovens and things like this. It says, besides his persecution by corporate government interests, there's at least one solid indication of Nikola Tesla's integrity. He tore up a contract with Westinghouse that was worth billions in order to save the company from paying him his huge royalty payments. So there you go. He didn't want, as a man of honour, he thought, no, I don't want you to lose work, lose jobs. People have to, this is the guy. He didn't want to charge us for electricity. This guy, he wanted it for everybody. But obviously, you have to meter it and put a charge on it, so that wasn't going to happen. But it says here the things that we know he came up with. Alternating current is where it all began for him. It was in 1893. And alternative current, and then you've got the DC current that Edison, backed by General Electric, been working on, was costly over long distances and produced dangerous sparking from the required converter, it says here. But regardless, Edison and his backers utilized the general dangers of electric current to install fear in Tesla's alternating current. It says, as proof, Edison sometimes electrocuted animals at demonstrations, and there is a video, I think a very, very old video, where they were demonizing Tesla's work and they electrocuted an elephant. I don't know if anyone's seen that video, but it's obviously very, very old, and you actually see the experiment where they were saying that Tesla's power would kill you. So it was another way of demonizing and basically making Edison the golden boy of electricity. It says that the Edison-Tesla feud in 1893 was the culmination of over a decade of shady business deals, stolen ideas, and patent suppression that Edison and his moneyed interests wielded over Tesla's inventions. Yet, despite it all, it is Tesla's system that provides power generation and distribution to North America and probably the rest of the world in our modern era. And of course, it says light. Of course, he didn't invent light, but it said. Tesla developed and used fluorescent bulbs in his lab some 40 years before industry invented them. He also invented X-rays. Electromagnetic and ionizing radiation was heavily researched in the late 1800s, but Tesla researched the entire gamut. It says everything from a precursor to Carillion photography, which is the ability to document life force, to what we now use in medical diagnostics. This was a transformative invention in which Tesla played a central role. X-rays, like so many of Tesla's contributions, stem from his belief that everything we need to understand the universe is virtually around us at all times, and we need to use our minds to develop real-world devices to augment our innate perception of existence. Wow. No wonder they shut him up and locked him away and demonized him. He's saying exactly what we talk about, knowing who you are, etc., knowing what's going on, being connected. He also, obviously, people think, no, it was Marconi. No, it was Tesla who invented the radio. It was initially credited to Marconi, but the inventor of radio, most believe it was Marconi. It says, however, the Supreme Court overturned Marconi's patent, which I didn't know, in 1943, when it was proven that Tesla invented the radio years previous to Marconi. Radio signals are just another frequency that needs a transmitter and receiver, which Tesla also demonstrated in 1893. It's like, during a presentation before the National Electric Light Association, it says in 1897 Tesla applied for 2 patents, and in 1904, however, the US Patent Office reversed its decision, awarding Marconi a patent for the invention of radio, possibly influenced by Marconi's financial backers in the States, which included Thomas Edison, believe it or not, and Andrew Carnegie. This also allowed the US government, among others, to avoid having to pay the royalties that were being claimed by Tesla. So there you go. And also the remote control. was invented by him. It was a patent that was 613809, was the first remote-controlled modelled boat demonstrated in 1898, utilising several large batteries, radio signals controlled switches, which then energised the boat's propeller, etc., etc. But basically, it's a remote control. Obviously, we know the remote control now as being for the TV, etc. He also invented the electric motor. Tesla's invention of electric motors has finally been popularised by a car brandishing his name. Yes, while the technical specifications are beyond the scope of this summary, suffice to say that Tesla's invention of a motor with rotating magnetic fields could have freed mankind much sooner from the stranglehold of big oil. Yes, if only. We're going back to 1890s here, and we had the technology back then, and to have free energy and all sorts going on. It says here robotics. Tesla overly enhanced scientific mind led him to the idea that all living beings are merely driven by external impulses. He stated, I have by every thought and act of mine demonstrated, and does so daily to my absolute satisfaction, that I am an automaton endowed with power of movement, which merely responds to external stimuli. Thus the concept of the robot was born. However, an element of the human remained present, as Tesla asserted that these human replicas should have limitations, namely growth and propagation. Nevertheless, Tesla unabashedly embraced all of what intelligence could produce. His visions for a future filled with intelligent cars, robotic human companions, and the use of sensors and autonomous systems are detailed in a must-read entry here. It says the Electrical Journal 2006 is a PDF. I might bung it in there in a sec. But he also invented the laser. Tesla's invention of the laser may be one of the best examples of good and evil bound up together within the mind of a man. It says lasers have transformed surgical applications in an undeniably beneficial way, and they have given rise to much of our current digital media. However, with this leap in innovation, we also have crossed into the land of science fiction. From Reagan's Star Wars laser defense system to today's Orwellian non-lethal weapons arsenal, which includes laser rifles and directed energy death rays, there is great potential for development in both directions. Yes, so again, it's using things for bad, using things for the negative, using things to control you. But Tesla, just on general, is someone I've sort of looked into over the last few years, now and again, watched a few things, read a couple of books, and it's amazing to think that he's almost, I wouldn't say he's forgotten. He's more remembered now, obviously, because of the thanks to the internet, and thanks to the freedom of information, and how we can get hold of information now. It's so much easier. But you go back 20 years ago and ask anybody Nikola Tesla, they probably who who's that? Because he's been tried to be erased almost from history. And like I say, most of his private works that he had were all taken away, never to be seen again. So this guy really was a genius. At the same time, he obviously had other issues, and the problems that he faced in his personal life, etc. Seeing him die a lonely man. It's amazing to think. It's they take away something, you come up with an invention. We've seen this many times. I mean, how many things would sit on a shelf an inventor came up with, which would potentially free mankind from oil? And we've said it many times, well, it won't be developed, I'm sorry, it's going to sit on the shelf. We'll give you some money if you shut up and go away. If you don't shut up and go away, or just go away, we'll probably, pay you a visit. And it won't be a very nice one. So yeah, the technology has always been there, like I say, since the 1800s, for goodness sake. And stuff that's now been developed, and stuff that we do know is perfectly safe to use for free energy, is just sitting on a shelf somewhere, or being underdeveloped, or because we have our reliance on our cars and our oil and our everything else. And it's almost, it's not going to happen anytime soon, let's put it that way. And when they do introduce anything that's free energy, have you seen the size of the price tag? So majority of people can never afford it, and it just fits into the machine anyway. It's of no use at all. It doesn't help, it doesn't benefit. they try and PR us out with all this bullshit regarding, free energy and wind turbines. I know that was mentioned. I think that's Keelan mentioned that again. Yeah, the wind turbines is another example of how people are being duped by what these things actually are producing energy-wise, and bills aren't going down, but they seem to be putting hundreds and hundreds of these things up, and the cost and the to us, the taxpayer, and the kickbacks that the companies get for setting these things up from the government, run into billions and billions of pounds. The incentives to do it. I mean, they're just putting them up. It's almost, it's of no use whatsoever. And I didn't think Keelan was mentioning about mined minerals that they're made of as well, which I didn't know about. But again, it's just another example of how useless this. It's not useless technology if it's used in the correct way, but the way in which we're being sold it and the way it's being put out there, we're seeing no benefit. It's just to appease a few people, a few greenies, a few people. Oh yes, it's good for the environment. Absolutely ridiculous. Wake up for fuck's sake and look into it. It's a scam, complete scam. But there we are. But yeah, so that was Nikola Tesla. So he's, again, do some more looking into him if you're interested. There's plenty of stuff online. You can find plenty of videos and plenty of information. And there's, it's worth knowing and worth understanding that just how long we've been sort of, if you like, with this knowledge, with this information that they've been sitting on, and you can see the control and manipulation behind the scenes way back then. How they were never ever going to let anything free for you and me, not the peasants. Oh no, we're not getting anything for free. We will work till we die. That's exactly what they're doing at the moment with increasing the work age, etc. So it's just, again, like I say, an example to look at, and makes you think. Food for thought. Interesting stuff. But it's what time is it now? 9:30. I did want to mention a couple of other things. I wanted to. There was a couple of silly stories that I did see. Just wanted to sort of the one about aliens I had to mention. I don't know why I'm going about aliens so much these days. It just seems to be everywhere, and I just seem to be sort of picking up on it and coming into it and thinking, interesting. But it says here, this is coming out of the Daily Fail. It says aliens will probably have a close encounter this century, says leading physicist who warns governments to be ready. Yes, they're coming. The aliens are here. Did watch a 15-20 minute documentary before I came on, actually, earlier on this evening. Just had it on in the background. And I think it was on Horizon, Are We Aliens, or something it was called. And this panspermia theory, where everything is sort of like come from meteors and landed on the planet, and basically that's where we've come from, and because they've discovered bacterias and etc. and meteorites and things that don't make sense and things that shouldn't survive. But and it's quite interesting. I didn't see it all, but I will watch the rest of it. But again, another, that was on mainstream TV, I think, the other night. So again, they're pushing this sort of alien sort of, thing into your face and trying to sort of, get you to sort of, think, oh, and fear, who knows? And then the picture, obviously, is of a grey alien with big black eyes, your typical thing. It says, but according to one of our, it says, it's a scientific prediction that will get dollar signs pinging in Steven Spielberg's eyes, it says here. We could make contact with aliens in less than 100 years. But according to one of our leading physicists, it is a matter for governments rather than Hollywood, who should start preparing for our first extraterrestrial encounter now. I don't think I can read any more of this because it's full of shit, but one interesting thing I did see in the article was Stephen Hawking, who basically is saying that we should be very, very, wary of any visitors. It says basically, he says, if aliens visit us, it says the outcome would be much as when Columbus landed in America, which didn't turn out well for the Native Americans. It says he thinks they're going to plunder the earth for resources, etc. But you can see the whole bullshit with the story. They're trying to, get that idea in there. And yes, the potential for life outside of this planet is huge. Yeah, of course it is. I think it would be naive to suggest we're not the only ones in this bloody space or whatever, in this galaxy or universe or whatever you want to call it, it's been proven, not proven, but mathematically, if you like, proven that life must exist elsewhere. However, we are in this kind of like melting pot of it all, I suppose, and from an early age, and from the dawn of, I think, TV and radio, they've been pushing the sci-fi kind of space war type ufology type thing ever since. They could do it on a mass scale, and I don't know. I have an open mind on everything. I do find some of the documents interesting, some of the stuff they find in if you like, letters or emails, or again, classified government documents, which you can put a big question mark over anyway. But it does say there is credible eyewitness reports, etc., which you wouldn't say that person's lying. Well, if you've seen something, then you've seen something. But so it's a very deep subject, and it can lead you down all sorts of avenues, and you can go crazy and doolally and think aliens are coming, and that, I think sometimes that's the whole thing with this. It's to kind of get people so again, fearful or wary, or they look at an eyewitness account, so they start going deeper into it, and they you can go down all routes, but it's a question again of just keeping an open mind and keeping balance. But they do seem to be pushing this alien thing an awful lot in these last sort of 12 months, and 2012, yeah, for sure, it's all going to lead up to this so-called big day. So it's just ramping up. I think once we've got the Olympics out of the way, but who knows what's going to happen there, of course. I think you'll see more and more of this, and interesting stuff. But just one last one, which I did want to read out, because this did make me laugh. This a fight for freedom, I call this. I don't know if anyone saw this story. It says a smoking ban inspector was stripped naked. It says, in the Belgium village of Sivry-Rance, an inspector of the Department of Health was attacked by the customers of a Café de la Poste and stripped naked. The man was controlling the ban on smoking in bars, it says here. It says Albert D., 53, was along with 30 other colleagues responsible for the control of the entire Belgian territory. His inspection was unannounced and happened, as always, on a random list of catering businesses. It says the Café de la Poste in the centre of the village serves a daily special at noon, but in the evening is frequented by a slightly rougher clientele, mostly members of the local Hells Angels. According to eyewitnesses, the inspector was stripped of his pants. Personal belongings were tossed way back into the bar room, supported by some intense cheering. Afterwards, the man was dropped in the forest and could find shelter in an old gamekeeper's house. Dressed in an old horse blanket, he managed to reach the local police station. The public prosecutor of the Charolais condemned this aggression and intimidation of a public official. The prosecution asked anyone who witnessed the incident to contact the police. I'm sure there's going to be lots of people coming forward to say yes, they did this, but again, a smoking ban. No, I'm not. I'm going to not put my cigarette out, and obviously it's not something I'd recommend to strip the guy naked, but it'll certainly make him think again about real freedoms, and sitting outside, for instance, having a cigarette in certain places is illegal. I mean, how ridiculous. I mean, the cars are driving past, pumping out shit and lead or whatever it is out of that exhaust pipe. I know it's not good for me. It's certainly no worse than cigarette smoke, I would have thought, and the shit that they're pumping into the atmosphere generally. And people should be worrying about radiation and the poisoning of the seas, with the with our Corexit, the oil spill in the Gulf, and like I say, the radiation contamination through Fukushima. People should be worrying about this, not, are you smoking or not? Do you see what I mean? Do you see where we're at? It's crazy. It's just complete nuts, where we're focusing on the very minor, small things. Don't smoke in front of me, you might kill me, but the same person is then supping on an aspartame-filled poison drink. Oh, the hypocrisy. I don't know. Anyway, it's getting on for 9:45, and I've rambled on loads. Sorry about the delay, guys. I will, hopefully that won't happen again now I've got the right settings. Thank you for listening. It's been good. Don't forget to come back on where are we? Monday, Thursday for Cookie. He's on between 9 and 11 with virtual shamanizing. And on Friday, join us for Red and his music show. That's between 9 and 11. Loads of good tunes on there. Check it out. And on Sunday, we have Keelan back with Wide Shut Webcast. He's back between 8 and 9. And any other little shows going on, I don't know. But I'm pretty sure we'll be informed and we'll post links around. But thank you for listening. It's been a pleasure. It's been... You've been listening to flippingthepyramid.co.uk. This is the website, guys. Come and check it out. Loads of good articles and news features, etc. And you've been listening to Bluebus on Monday evening with the reality check. And I will leave you with a tune. Thank you for listening. And speak to you all next week. Like I say, follow your heart and have a balanced view on things. Always good. And I'll speak to you next week. Ta-da.
We are flipping the pyramid. Flipping the pyramid.